So even though I used to own the Two Rock Bloomfield Drive, and I've had this one on loan from Coda Guitars near London here for a couple of months, I'd still say it's the hardest amp that Two Rock make for me to sort of get my head around, so to speak. I've owned a classic Reverb for a long time. I find that's a real plug and play sort of amp. I've got the Joey Landreth here, and really, I wouldn't say it's a one-trick pony because it's an incredibly beautiful amp to play, but it does the sound it does. I used to own a TS1. That was a cascading gain amp like the Bloomfield Drive, but again, I knew what it wanted to sound like. The other Two Rock amps that I've played, the Silver Sterling and the traditional Clean, again, they're reasonably easy to set up because I know what they're going to sound like. But the Bloomfield Drive is that probably most intriguing of Two Rock amps. Oh, also the Vintage Deluxe. That has a lot of knobs and switches on it, but again, it sort of does a thing that you expect. But the Bloomfield Drive is the one I probably get the most questions about, especially from people on Instagram asking me, you know, which Two Rock amp should I buy? I was thinking classic Reverb, but I'm really intrigued by the Bloomfield. Like, what does it do? And I've tried to answer this question a few times before, if you look back through my channel. But in this one, I'm going to do it slightly differently. There's not going to be as much talking as my normal videos. Some of you will be cheering. There's going to be a bit more playing and a bit more up close on the amp and sort of more of a live playing, keeping some of the mistakes in, less edited, not like performances that I normally put in, like demos. I'm going to have a camera trained at the amps and a camera trained at me playing and show you some things. Some things that if you're really intrigued and really interested in this amp, you'll want to hear and you'll want to know. You know, a few different settings in the Clean channel and comparing that and hearing it against the classic Reverb and even the Joey Landreth. Because the Bloomfield Drive was actually designed in a way for Joey Landreth at the beginning. It was him that they sort of modelled it around and got him to sort of play it. And I've had people say, so is it just very similar to the Joey Landreth? No, they don't feel at all the same. And you'll hear that. There's a completely different sound to it. And then I'll go into the lead channel. And then also at the end of the video, if you stick around, I'm going to play each of them incredibly quietly. And throughout a lot of the video, you'll also see a decibel meter on one side. And today I've got this KHE amp switcher that makes this video a lot easier for me to film. Just one cabinet, but then I can plug into three. You can plug into 8 amps on this and 4 cabinets. And it does all the load changing for you. But it makes it easier to switch between the 3 without me sort of plugging in and out and making it cumbersome. And I've had this for quite a long time now. I use it whenever I've got more than 2 amps that I want to play through. I have actually had 8 amps connected and 4 cabs, and it just worked perfectly. I did that last year when I did 12 or 13 amps and 1 guitar video that was in December. Anyway, enough waffling. Let's start hearing bits and pieces. Now, although you saw me playing a Black Beauty type guitar made by Giordano at the beginning, one of my favourite guitar makers and a fantastic sounding guitar, I really just threw that in because you can really hear distinctly quite a difference in the sound. Even though there's a pedal there, the Vemiram Jam Ray, you could hear that the Bloomfield Drive probably has a bit more of a sort of wilder gain characteristic to it, a little bit more hard-hitting. Whereas the classic Reverb rounds itself off more and is more bluesy sounding, and the Joey Landreth has a more swampy mid-nasal thing. And those are the characters of those amps that you can't really change no matter what you do. You can reduce the bass on the classic Reverb, but it will always have an edge of that bigger, fuller, bluesier sound. Just to say, this is at 40 watts, this is at 50 watts, and this is also at 50 watts down here, the Joey Landreth. Right, let's start seeing some of the clips. You'll see me jump in from time to time, but a lot of this video is going to go without me commenting, so to speak, because really it's about you making your mind up. What do you hear? And I'll just dive in if I think there's something I need to say. But just lastly, before I do that, there won't be any pedals for the rest of the video, and I'm going to be using a guitar called a Lucem Paradox, which is a humbucker-based guitar. I'm only going to use it in humbucker mode. It's got split coils and things. It's got Sunbear 59 SB PAFs in, which are fantastic boutique PAFs. And it's a neck-through guitar. It doesn't quite sound like a Les Paul or an SG or even a Firebird, but I think what it does do is it's very clear and it's got a lot of clarity to it, this guitar. Nothing wallowing in the low end, not too bright at the top end, and it just, yeah, it sounds wonderful. And it's a good guitar to do this sort of thing on because I think it will show off the amps in a way that will really make it clear what they're sounding like. So yeah, let's dive in. Okay, we're on the Bloomfield in the clean channel, and I just thought I'd run through these pickups and then we'll change some settings. The word I often hear about the clean channel on the Bloomfield, and one I've used before because that's also what everyone was saying, is it's got a neutral sound. In retrospect, I'm not really sure what that could possibly mean, a neutral sound. Is it because it's flatter sounding? I don't know. Depending on the guitar, you can actually push the clean channel quite nicely and get some really interesting tones. But what I would say is, knowing that this was made really for Joey Landreth and around that idea, the chances are it's made to use a pedal board, and a big one at that. Now, there's so many videos on the internet with Two Rocks and pedal boards and the Bloomfield Drive and pedal boards, and I've done it myself lots of times. Loads of videos on my channel use a Bloomfield Drive and lots of pedals. I know that it can stack and take anything you can throw at it. It works amazing for fuzz, strats, all sorts of different guitars and pedals and everything. So that's not in this video. But I would say the clean sound is really lovely and it does the job. It's not as pretty as the classic Reverb, but it's direct, it's to the point, and I just think it is quite interesting actually. Plus the reverb on here may be the best Two Rock reverb in a way. The classic Reverb's reverb will sound more halo-like in the room. The Bloomfield Drive is a bit more direct with its reverb, but I like the way it interacts with the way you play. And then the Joey Landreth's reverb is quite different indeed, a different sort of reverb really. Anyway, back to the video. Okay, let's change to the classic Reverb for a quick comparison. Okay, just go to the other gain structures quickly in the middle. And the bottom one. Okay, back to the Bloomfield and let's tinker about. So let's just whack the gain all the way up. Okay, classic reverb, middle structure, full gain. Let's see what happens. Okay, back to the Bloomfield. Put the gain to a sensible amount, about 2 o'clock. I'm going to pull the treble back a little bit because you get this slightly bright thing. Pull the presence back a little bit and increase the mids to quite a long way up. Okay, let's go to the Joey Landreth. Let's go into the top structure, lower that gain, up the mids. Still bass heavy. Okay, Bloomfield. Let's have a nice little play about here. And then we'll go into the lead channel. Let's just see what I can get out in terms of my favourite clean tone. Okay, now we're going to go into the lead channel. Turn the master down a bit. Okay, let's just put the two gains in the middle and the lead master in the middle and just see what happens. I'm going to put the mids back a bit. There we go. Okay, let's first try the first gain. Okay, increase this gain. Now let's see what happens if we increase the master, the lead master. subtle. Whack that lead gain back. So compare that to the clean channel. Lead. Okay, now what if low volume is your main goal? Okay, in a second you're going to hear all three amps really, really quietly to give you a comparison of that, and also at some point in there you'll hear just the room sound coming through a lapel mic for the Bloomfield, just so you get a feeling of what that sounds like sitting next to the amp. It's been pretty loud throughout the video, but you can get a lot out of these amps at a much quieter volume, but just making these videos, you know, I put it on about a quarter because it still doesn't seem like, you know, that's too much until you actually look at the decibel meter. So what did I think playing that? Spending some time playing the lead channel of that Bloomfield Drive, which I rarely ever do. And why do I rarely ever do that? Well, often when I'm playing a Strat, I just find it doesn't quite do what I want to do with that. Unless I'm hitting some big pedals, which to be honest, then I'd only need the clean channel of the Bloomfield. The lead can sound a bit thin and wiry and not big enough somehow. And just, I've never quite figured out what I want to use it for. But today with the humbuckers, it made a lot more sense. It's a lot more, I don't know how to describe the sound. It's not like a Fender sound, is it? It's something else. And you often think Two Rock, Fender, more that sort of thing, but this is not like that, is it? This is obviously more of a Dumble sort of thing, and more of a wall of sound sort of thing. You know, I'm not talking Friedman, you know, BE 100 style wall of sound, but there's a lot of harmonic content in there that was really, really cool and really fun. So why am I giving the Bloomfield back? I mean, it was on loan, but I was thinking about buying another one. I might do one day. I just play the classic Reverb so much when I want a bluesy sound, and I play the Joey Landreth when I want that harmonic tremolo and something different and swampy, and when I'm playing a baritone, which I'm doing a lot of the time. And so, and if I want a big raucous sound, I tend to play a tweed amp. So the Bloomfield Drive for me maybe doesn't make full sense. But is it the right amp for you? If you build a huge sound out of pedals, then the clean channel is fantastic. But if you're never going to use the lead channel, then I'd recommend probably getting a different amp anyway. Either the traditional clean, which will allow you to use as many pedals as you need, but also give you quite a vintage Fender vibe. The classic Reverb, which is a bit more modern sounding, fuller, bluesy, bit more bassy, bit more rounded. Again, you can stack pedals as much as you want to. It's a huge amp in that sense. And I think its clean is more pretty than the Bloomfield's, but also its sound with fuzzes and things is just really, really cool, the classic Reverb. But the Bloomfield does offer something that other Two Rock amps don't, really. And that is that big, really harmonic, quite distorted-y sound, and yet not like a hot-rodded Marshall type sound, is it? It's something else. It is that Dumbly cascading gain thing that I just don't need. I don't obviously play like Robin Ford or Larry Carlton or someone like that who uses, you know, a Dumble amp, and I don't play with a lot of gain where I could potentially use it. But it was a lot of fun just playing that just now. I hope just hearing that, and you know, there were some longer sections there of me playing similar things, but it was just so you could hear. When I'm looking to spend so much on an amp, I just need to find content where I can hear a bit more, sort of rewind back a bit, hear it again, think about whether that's the sound that I'm looking for myself. Just in case you're interested or want to know, I'm using the 2x12 Two Rock cabinet down here with their own standard speakers, and it was an SM57 and a ribbon mic on the cabinet and a room mic which was a Royer 121, not a real one, it's an emulating mic from Universal Audio, but it was emulating a Royer. Anyway, now it's time for you to hear them quietly, but I'll leave you here and now. If you enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up. It really, really helps. It takes a lot of effort to make these videos, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. All right, see what you think of them played really quietly, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Okay, I think we should hear it at much lower volumes, so let's go. How low will it go? Okay, back in the clean channel. Let's do the same thing on the Two Rock, on the obviously Two Rock, on the classic Reverb. Okay. Joey.